I get it on my phone. So what I thought I'd do is I'd show you some quick demos on how it works, how it looks. Yes? Yeah, probably. But it was, you know what's funny is, no, but the funny part is, half the time I get it, SMS, half the time I don't. So, thank you. So, enough with slideware. So, actually, I want to tell everybody about my little secret that Eric and I use a lot. How many people are familiar with Windows Sandbox? Okay. Windows Sandbox is the ability to have a VM that you can detonate whatever you want in it, and it's completely protected, but it's also a great way to do demos with if you don't want to have to sign out of your client and you want to be able to do it with the demo tenant. I'm not actually going to use it today. I wanted to showcase it though, because in my Windows, it basically is a VM on my machine. And so I have the ability to, I have a Teams client that's logged in. This is this is a great example of the interface, and I can come back to mine in just a second. But one of the things I can see is I'm a manager. So as Sean Wilson, I'm a manager, and I can actually see that Adele and Alex both have availability to book this. Now, if I wanted to come in and I wanted to book a new booking on this, and I come in and I hit new bookings, oh, this is my wrong one, sorry. I forgot that was my sandbox. I want to be in my real client. So I'm going to start with the user interface, okay? So as you can see, this is the bookings admin setting, so I can see it. And I actually have the ability to come in, and if I can see calendars, I can also see any of the customers that are in there. I can set up my staff calendars. So right now, I've got this. One of the things I have the availability to do is, as I come in and edit, I can actually edit their availability, right? So a great example is I know Alex is a physical therapist, let's say, and he's only going to be available for sessions from 4 to 5 on Tuesdays and early morning Monday, but the rest of the week he's fine. So as I go in and I need to be able to book something, I can actually see his calendar. So as I also come into this, I also have the ability, so if I come back and I look at that calendar, I can come in and I can actually book, I can book directly from this. I can also add time off for people, right? And one of the things that's also really important is if I want to be able to manage that staff, and hey, let's say I have Alan that I want to add, because of the beauty of AD and all that wonderful integration, I now have the ability to bring Alan in. And for Alan, I can put in his phone number if I wanted to. But the other thing that I can make sure is when I do this, I can change it. He can either be an administrator, he can be a viewer, or he can be a guest, right? So guests can go and they can be assigned to a booking, but they can't actually see the booking mailbox, okay? Now, I just want Alan to be a viewer, come in, save changes, and now I have the ability to add him to that schedule. So if I come back and I look at my calendar, I can see that now I have Alan DeYoung, I have all of his availability there, and bringing it in. Now, one of the things that's really key, so I'm going to go back to the Teams client real quick and show you, is that when I come into the Bookings app here, there is a key thing that I want to point out to everybody when you're doing this, okay? And I know it's hard to read, so I'm going to, I think I got the laser on this one. Do we have a laser on this? No. Under settings, this is actually where you have to enable if you want to allow people to add the mobile browser join, okay? The ACS component. If you just want them to use Teams, this is where you do it. You also have in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, you have the ability to restrict the types of meetings that can be booked. Maybe they're only internal for bookings. Maybe they're external. All the different capabilities that are in that. But when I come in here, I need to be able to come to my appointment types And when I edit it, actually, I'll just create a new one from scratch. So if I come in and I want to create a new type of appointment, so I want to create a new one. So let's say I want physical therapy. Did I spell it right? No. Okay, and so in this, I can add any links or information that I want to be shared in the invite that will go out every time, right? But the key is also to notice that down here, I need to choose if they can join from the mobile browser, because if they don't get that, they will not get the ACS link. They will just get a Teams link, and then they get prompted to either install the application if they're on a mobile, right? Or if they're on a PC, then they will get the browser window that says join client or web. The other is, and this is only in US and Canada right now, but sending them the text message. One of the things you have to recognize is that we, outside of the US, especially in Canada, actually, text messages can be expensive if they're not part of your plan. SMS specifically. And actually, I was talking with one of our partners in the UK or in Europe, and they were like, yeah, SMS, the reason that WhatsApp's so popular was because SMS is so expensive, especially if I go country to country, right? So my ability to do that, I come in here, I can save it, and now as that is a type of appointment that's available for me to be able to book. So if I come in here and I come in under Adele, I can actually choose the type of appointment I want. I see that it's a physical therapy appointment, and I want to schedule this for later in the day for half an hour. And then I have the ability, as a scheduler, I have the ability as well to add that mobile join or the text message, or even make it a Teams meeting. I might want it to be an in-person event, right? I don't want, like, I have a doctor's appointment for blood work on Tuesday of next week. They don't want to send me a virtual link, right? Because then I'm not going to think about going into the office. I'm like, oh, I'll just be here. But because they want to see me, I have the ability to remove that as a capability. The other thing is that I have to actually click on attendees are aware that they're going to receive SMSs from us, right? And so as I do that, I'm done, and you have required fields that I did not fill in. So at this point, we'll put in Jamie Stark, and I will put in a bogus email for right now so that he doesn't have to deal with the and now it's booked. And so what we'll see is it'll update. It updates on the calendar there. I can see it because I'm a manager or a scheduler, right? So my ability to add those. So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to show you what it looks like for the browser, mobile browser join, because it's kind of my favorite part of the whole thing. Oop. There we go. And of course, my mother texts the second I plug it back in, right? So one of the things I was talking about was the SMS thing that we were talking about. So I actually had to copy and paste this for myself into my own text back to me. But what I wanted to do is just show with that mobile join. So I'm sitting here and I go to the visit.teams.microsoft.com and it just prompts me with a browser. And so I can come in, and in this case, I'm going to say John Doe. And I'm going to join that experience. And it's going to prompt me for the same allows that I would for any application. But because this is using the WebRTC functionality, it has the ability for me to have my camera and my microphone and be able to join this. And my ability to join a meeting is just as easy as hitting join now. Okay? Now, how many people remember when you would We're going to go back to the Skype for business days. And you would get the web prompt, and it would say, hey, you have to download the client. And then you'd go try to download the client, and then you're like, oh my gosh, what's going on with this? And then I don't have permissions, and so since I don't have permissions, I'm not going to get in, and it's just a nightmare, right? Well, part of this was to really just streamline that experience. Because even people going into Teams meetings and this stuff, the minute that you have friction for somebody that's not familiar with Teams or familiar with this, you lose them as a customer, right? And so we've done a lot of work. Like the Teams engineering team has done a lot of work on improving our meetings experience all the way around. And because of that whole core concept, and this was just the next step that we needed to make sure we did and we brought in. So as you can see, it'll say somebody will let me in soon. And I'm hoping, I don't know which one this is. We'll find out in just a minute. I think it's my 9:30. Oops, I'm in my booking schedule, sorry. In my calendar. And I'll show you in just a second that you can see my calendar, and then the bookings is another tab within my calendar within Teams in just a second. But I have the ability to go in. So I'm sitting in the lobby. It's the same lobby experience you experience in Teams. Let you in, and you're good to go. So I'm going to go back to my PC, only because okay. And so as we kind of pull into this, you can actually see that this is my calendar as if it was my everyday, right? And so there's two sides to this, right? There's me doing my day job, but then there's the other one where maybe I'm doing a scheduling. Maybe I have to manage my teams for these calls. And so I have the ability directly from within my calendar. I don't have to go and load the bookings app. I don't have to do it. Now, one of the things that I wanted to show you that was really, which is probably my favorite part of bookings, and this is my personal use for this, is that if I wanted to go. Oh, the other piece, bookings. The bookings functionality also has the programmatic capabilities of doing this with APIs. And the reason for that is if you have a very large scheduling system, right, or you have a lot of scheduling, you don't want to have to be doing this by one, right? Like automation was at IT dev was the future. So this one's here. But one of the things I was going to show is, I actually created my own bookings page for me at Microsoft so that when I have somebody that says, hey, I need to get on your calendar, or hey, I want to talk to you, and I actually have blocked time in my calendars, and I can actually choose it. So if I have somebody that just wants a readiness session. So last week I had a partner that wanted to do a readiness session on meeting rooms, right? And they were like, look, I really just needed an hour to dive in and ask some questions. And so I was able to, they were able to come in, choose a readiness session, add their details. And one of the things that was nice is it showed what times I had available for that 1 hour meeting. They booked this, it ends up on my calendar. And it's all managed from this app. And the nice thing is that if I had somebody that was managing my schedule in this case, right, that's scheduling it for me, I have the ability to then see all of those as well within the bookings client interface. So this is just, I wanted to point this one out because how many times have you sent, hey, what's your availability on your schedule? And then somebody comes back and says, oh, how about Tuesday at 4? And you're like, no, I'm not, or I'm at ComsV Next. I'm not around on Tuesday. How about Thursday? No, that's not going to work. And then we use like find time poll and everybody goes back and forth. So actually the ability to just incorporate this, because this is actually integrated into your eSKUs, right? That you just have the ability to actually use bookings. And I publish my calendar for this for anybody that wants to have a chat. So where I had the drop down and it shows physical therapy or marketing consult or initial consult, in a published world, somebody would come to this and actually see these different types of meetings, right, or services that I offer. So I'm just going to finish off with, I wanted to close out of the Sandbox. Oh, by the way, Windows Sandbox, to do it, I'm going to teach this one because it's like my favorite thing in the world, is you actually have to go into Windows features and add under Windows features, and it doesn't seem to be liking me right now. Turning on and off Windows features, if you go in there, down at the very bottom, you'll see Windows Sandbox right here. And so what you do is you'll enable it, then you'll have to reboot your machine, but then you have the ability to open up a brand new instance of Windows at any time. So if you want to, do demos or test or do anything like that, so that's kind of like my little nugget for you for the day, the Easter egg. Let's just go back. Okay, so we saw the SMS and the capabilities there, and one of the things though that that was probably the biggest game changer for me was that because of the SMS experience and being able to do that, it meant that I was now bringing the technology to the user, the consumer, and not trying to force them into my way, right? And so I'm keeping these in here because you will not be able to see my, you won't be able to see my demo after you'll get the deck. But one of the things that we have is, anybody here work with healthcare customers at all, or is a healthcare customer? Okay, so Epic. Epic is one of the largest EHR, electronic health record systems out there. And if you've ever gone in and your customer or your doctor has MyChart, it's built on Epic. And so one of the things is, if you don't have bookings, and you don't, because you do your scheduling through your EHR, right? You need to have an integration. So we actually built an integration with EHR that actually will create the sessions directly into Epic, and then the experience for somebody to join that experience, that mobile join experience, directly from within the MyChart app. And so this is one of those things where you're talking to your customers, and if they have Epic, this is a great conversation starter for them to say, hey, by the way, I know you're doing virtual health. Have you considered looking at the Epic integration for Teams? And the key with this was, a lot of our customers use Epic and other scheduling systems. Like if I go to a large hospital system, probably most of their like personal visits are scheduled through MyChart and scheduling. However, they also probably have somebody doing scheduling for PT or pain management or any of the other areas, and so they might use both, right? And so this is just a good conversation, and the Ehr Connector was something that we brought forward this year, or early, I guess this year. I keep forgetting we're in October already, right? Like the year's almost gone. And so some of the key things is it gives a few different pieces, right? It gives the sysadmin side of it, right? Set up and manage it. It's actually a pretty seamless integration. And then obviously I can go in and I can not only launch a virtual visit, which they do for my daughter all the time, but the patients can also request a schedule right from the Epic portal. And so if you've ever seen what MyChart looks like, this is the Epic, this is the user experience. And so the ability to just begin your visit directly there that's been scheduled is natively integrated through Teams. So I know I talked really fast. First of all, I wanted to say thanks not only to our sponsors, but really to all of you guys and women. Sorry. we're all together at a conference, right? Like, we're getting to chat and hang out and drink coffee together. I guess coffee's out, so maybe not coffee, maybe water. But I wanted to say, if we didn't have the sponsors and we didn't have you guys, this wouldn't go on, and this is huge for us. So I really just want to say thank you. So, any questions? You guys are very lively this morning. Yes? Here. I'm not going to chuck it that far. I would literally hit Tracy in the head. Yeah, not right now, he wouldn't.
Can you talk a little bit about how maybe the HIPAA compliance and the encryptions and the things that go on the back end? Is there any additional tags that need to be turned on in Azure to make sure everything's compliant with HIPAA and the various other healthcare side?
No, so the HIPAA compliance component is the sharing of information, right? That's the whole piece to it. The only information that we're sharing is why we consent to be able to send them an email. You can actually have it set that they can't send an email, right? So that's there, but there's no health information that's shared within that other than what's stored, and that's within Teams, and Teams already is HIPAA compliant. So just think of the ACS component as just a participant in the meeting. Okay? The meeting is still hosted on the Teams infrastructure. It just happens to be that I'm bringing somebody in that doesn't have a client. Anyone else? You are lively this morning. Not here. Yeah, so the Ehr connector uses the... Yeah.
So when it actually connects, so doesn't it connect to the back to the EHR system where all the PII lays, but when it's pulling all the stuff from the bookings app, it can still pull that information. So it's all one stop for the doctor so they can pull up any charts or anything that's needed, correct?
Yes. So, and the key is that it's still, so the EHR component is, it's a scheduling componentry. Think of it as a shell, right? And so all of your electronic health records, because there's stuff in the EHR, I didn't know this until just recently, you see your chart. There's a whole lot more they have on you than you see in all of your charts. Like, you see test results and it gives you like the 9 things. And what you don't realize is there are notes and conversations on every single thing that's in there. And so all of that lives in that EHR system, right? Not in Teams. Okay. Well, I guess as they say, we'll give you some time back.